You cancel plans and feel relieved. Instead of guilty, you'd rather be home than anywhere else on earth. People call you boring. They say you're wasting your life. But there's actual psychology behind why some people are wired to prefer solitude over social chaos. And it's not what you think. People who love staying home aren't antisocial. They're not depressed. They're not afraid of the world. They just have a different nervous system. And that nervous system processes stimulation completely differently than people who need to be out constantly. The first psychological factor is your stimulation threshold. Every brain has an optimal level of stimulation, where it functions best. Extroverts have a high threshold. They need constant input, noise, people, and activity to feel alive. Their brain is underwhelmed by quiet. Homebodies, on the other hand, have a low threshold. Normal levels of social activity that extroverts find exciting, homebodies find exhausting. This isn't a choice. This is neurology. Studies show that introverts have more active prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that processes information deeply. More activity means more sensitivity to stimulation. A party that energizes an extrovert literally drains an introvert because their brain is processing everything more intensely. The music feels louder. The conversations require more energy. The social dynamics are more exhausting. So, homebodies aren't avoiding life. They're managing their nervous system. Home is where stimulation is controllable. You decide the noise level. You decide who's there. You decide when to engage and when to be alone. It's not isolation. It's optimization. The second factor is social energy versus social interest. People assume if you don't go out, you don't like people. Wrong. Homebodies often like people just fine. They just recognize that social interaction has a cost. Every conversation requires energy. Every social situation requires a bit of performance. Every group dynamic requires navigation. Extroverts get energy from this. Introverts spend energy on this. Think of your social energy like a battery. Extroverts charge their battery through social interaction. The more they're around people, the more energized they feel. Introverts drain their battery through social interaction. Every hour with people is an hour of battery depletion. Home is where they recharge. For them, solitude isn't loneliness. It's maintenance. This is why a homebody can enjoy a social event but still prefer being home. The event was fine. They just know the cost. 3 hours of socializing might mean 6 hours of recovery. Is it worth it sometimes? Yes. But often, no. They're not being difficult. They're just being honest about their energy budget. The third factor is control and autonomy. People who love staying home value control over their environment and their schedule. Out in the world, you're subject to other people's timing, other people's preferences, other people's energy. At home, you're sovereign. You eat when you want. You sleep when you want. You engage when you want. This isn't about being a control freak. This is about protecting your autonomy. The world constantly makes demands on you. Work demands performance. Social obligations demand your presence. Errands demand your time. Home is the one place where you're not required to perform for anyone. You can just exist. For people with this psychology, being forced into social situations can feel like a violation. Not because the situation is bad, but because the lack of choice is suffocating. They don't hate the restaurant. They hate that someone else decided they should be at a restaurant right now, instead of at home where they truly want to be. The fourth factor is depth over breadth. Homebodies prefer deep engagement with a few things, over shallow engagement with many things. They'd rather read one book deeply than skim 10. They'd rather have one meaningful conversation than 10 surface-level chats. They'd rather master one hobby than try 20. This psychology extends to how they socialize. They don't want to meet new people constantly. They want deep relationships with a small circle. Going out to bars and parties to meet people sounds exhausting because those interactions are shallow by design. You can't have deep, meaningful conversations in loud spaces with people you'll never see again. So, staying home isn't about avoiding connection. It's about pursuing the type of connection they actually value. The fifth factor is self-sufficiency. People who love staying home have built internal worlds that are genuinely interesting to them. They have hobbies, interests, and projects that don't require other people. They not bored when they alone, because they develop the ability to entertain and fulfill themselves. This is actually a psychological strength that society often mistakes for a weakness. People who can't be alone for 5 minutes without getting anxious are dependent on external stimulation. They need other people to make life interesting. Homebodies have cultivated internal richness. They're interesting to themselves. Reading, creating, thinking. Learning these things happen in solitude. You can't deeply focus on anything meaningful when you're constantly out being social. Homebodies understand this. They're not missing out on life by staying home. They're living a different kind of life that prioritizes internal development over external experiences. Now, here's where this psychology gets weaponized against you. Society often treats staying home like a problem that needs fixing. You hear it all the time. You should get out more. You're wasting your life. You'll regret not making memories. This is extrovert psychology, trying to colonize the introvert experience. They can't imagine being happy at home, so they assume you can't be either. But their happiness model isn't universal. They need external validation, constant stimulation, and group belonging to feel alive. You don't. Your nervous system is built differently. Forcing yourself to live like an extrovert doesn't make you happy. It just makes you exhausted and resentful. The dangerous part is when homebodies internalize this criticism and start to think something's wrong with them. They force themselves to go out, to be social, to live the way they're supposed to, and they're miserable. Not because they're broken, but because they're violating their own nature to satisfy other people's expectations. Loving your home isn't a flaw. It's just a different operating system. Stop apologizing for it. Subscribe for more psychology that validates how you actually are, instead of how you're supposed to be. And comment below, are you a homebody, or do you need to be out constantly? In the next video, we'll explore why the most successful people are often the most isolated. Thanks for watching!